Let's do it.
Junior, tell us about the Bonner family and your new movie, Green Flake.
Okay. Well, first of all, man, I'm so happy to be able to be here with you guys. I think it's so cool that you guys do this, and you know, just being able to relate with other creative people in the grind is amazing. So, music is my background. My mom's a vocal coach, and she spent her whole life transforming voices, right? And so I graduated from high school, went to LA to pursue music. And what my mom taught me, I realized it was kind of ingrained in me. So I began teaching and developing pop artists. So my career has been in music, developing singers and for reality TV shows and the ones you hear on the radio, Ariana Grande, the ones the kids like, Camila Cabello, stuff like that, Katy Perry. So I work with them to prepare them for their tours, Kesha, stuff like that. And so while I'm doing that, our family, we kind of stumbled into doing music as a family together as adults. We always sang when we were young together, but for a birthday gift from my mom, my dad was like, "Come on, just guys get together, sing for her. She'll love it. Just record something." So we recorded something, and we just recorded it, put it on YouTube for my mom, and then I think the Mormon channel or someone, in the church reached out and was like, "Hey, can we reproduce this?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, go for it." They did it. It kind of caught wind from there, and since then we've been singing together. And so we performed at that B1 celebration, and that was commemorating the 40th anniversary for all men holding the priesthood, blacks holding the priesthood. And it was during that time, it was during that celebration that I realized, man, I don't know much about black history in the LDS church. And I'm like, I should know stuff. I should know stuff. And I didn't. So I was like, okay, well, let me just meet with historians. Let me try to do my homework. So I met with historians and had them send me writing and whatever else. And so reading turned into writing. Because for me, not just developing singers, I also was a songwriter or am a songwriter. Um, and as I was reading, I was writing. And so this was in June. This was in July 2018. That was when I started reading and writing, and so September came around, and I was like, I feel like this is something. So I started working on structuring it together, and so by the end of September, I felt like, I think this is a script or a movie. Now, I don't have any background. I never thought about making a film, doing film. Never once crossed my mind before 2 years ago um, in that summer. So I finished that script, and now I was like, okay, now what? And so I started calling a bunch of people that I knew, like actors, singers, anybody in film, like, hey, I'm gonna make a movie, and they just kind of laughed, like, okay, well, there's more to it than that. I'm like, yeah, okay, well, I'm gonna make the movie, and I need actors. You act, right? Yeah, great. You want to be in it? Well, send me the script. I'm like, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll send you the script. Send them the script, and send it. And the people I was working with or I knew were mainly in music: David Osmond, Alex Boyer, my family, Dallin Bayless. And so these are people who within the church do music, but also acting. Casey Elliott, the from Gentry, and so sent them the script, and one at a time they got back to me and were like, "We love it. We're in. When are we doing it?" I'm like, "Right. Get right back to you." So, so I take a trip to the Republic of Georgia. Does anybody know where that is? The
I
Republic
know
of
about
Georgia.
the state of Georgia.
Well,
Republic
it's
of Georgia is over in Europe.
exactly. Yeah. So I have a client over there that I do music with, and I hit him up and let him know what I'm doing, and in because he owned a television station out there, so he was in that realm, and so that was kind of all I knew, and so I was like, telling him about it. He's like, well, come here, shoot here. And I'm like, okay, yeah. He's like, I have equipment, I have people, you come, it'll be great. I'm like, awesome, perfect. So I start looking at flights, and I go out there with a friend of a friend of a friend who supposedly was an AD to go with me. And yeah, Dallin is great. And we began scouting locations out in the Republic of Georgia and Turkey. So we kind of traveled through Georgia and Turkey to find the best places to shoot this film. And I was like, okay, I think we worked it out. We found all our spots, and now we're into October, and I have to get these actors locked in. So I come back and I call the actors, hey, we're going to do it. Some of them didn't have to read for it or anything, and other people had to do a whole, like, casting session or whatever. I had a friend who also I worked with in music who cast musical theater, and she was like, okay, I'm in. How can I help? I'm like, great. I need you to do I think it's called a casting call. Like, that's how much I didn't know. I didn't know anything. And she's like, okay, gave her all the people we're supposed to have. She made the calls. My sister and I, who's in the film, Clotilde, we sat down and listened to all the actors, picked the actors, and now we're coming to the end of October, and I'm like, okay, great. Everybody's like, where are we shooting? And I'm like, okay, we're gonna be flying to Georgia. And they're like, where Georgia? I'm like, well, the Republic of Georgia. Well, why so far? I'm like, that's all I got. It's where we can do it, And so I was planning to do that in December. And so, mind you, I didn't finish writing it until September, but I just felt like I had to make it by December. I like to move quickly, and I did not understand that things take time. And I, if had I known it takes time, I would never would. No way. Like, I'm not spending that much time. I don't have time for that. So I was just going the speed I knew how. And um, I got a phone call from one of the crew members from the Republic of Georgia, and then he was telling me how the winter was going to be, and that it was going to be one of the coldest winters they've had, and we were going to be shooting in the mountains and the Caucasus Mountains, and it was freezing over up there, so we'd have to get these new generators and tents to make sure everybody's safe. And I'm like, who's paying for that? Because at to this point, I didn't even have money to do anything. I'm still making phone calls to get money. And so what it would cost for us to keep everybody warm and safe was going to be about as much as it was going to cost to make the movie. And so I realized that this is not going to work. It's not going to work. And I found that out like the day before I was about to book all of these flights. So now, well, I mean, should I just keep talking, or does anybody have anything?
Oh, doing great. Doing great. Keep going.
Okay. So now here we are coming up on November, and I have a cast. I have a script. I don't have a crew, and I don't have a place to shoot. And actors are like, "Hey, so what's going on?" I'm like, "We're actually found a better location. I'll get right back to you with where it is and the details, but don't worry about the passport situation." And I'm like, okay, but should I still hold the dates? Yes, hold the dates. We're shooting. In my mind, I'm thinking, can it be that hard to shoot on the phone? It might take a little more time, but I'm sure I can figure it out. That's what I was thinking. I'll shoot it on my phone, but I'm shooting in December with my actors. And so here we are now, coming up on November, and I'm on a flight, and I'm coming home to Utah. It's my parents' home in Utah to take care of my mom. She got sick, and I'm on the flight, and there's this guy on the flight, and he's just talking about these locations or this place. He's a mountain man, and they reenact the 1800s and only use stuff that's from the time. And he's just going on and on about it. And I'm like, oh wow, okay, cool. And it was a nice conversation, but I'm like, I'm flying with my mom. I don't have much time with her. I'd like to spend time with my mom. And he keeps talking about this mountain man thing, and I'm like, great, thank you. Okay. And so that was that. Didn't think anything of it. And because in the meantime, I was trying to figure out another place to shoot in the Republic of Georgia because I would have all my friends' equipment. And then after a couple weeks, now we're now at the end of November, and my friend is like, "Hey, sorry, don't know what's happening, but my crew, they're not going to be available. But we'll do another time. When else do you want to shoot?" I'm like, "There is no other time. It's right now." He's, "Well, maybe not now, then maybe another time." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, no crew, no location." Um, but I'm like, "Okay, cool, no problem," because he was going to do me a solid anyway. So hey, don't worry about it. We'll do another movie another time. It's like, yeah, more movies, more times. It's fine. I'm like, okay, cool, cool. So then I was like, wait a minute, was that guy on the plane? And so then I remember on the flight as he's leaving, he's like, "Well, what's your number?" And I didn't really know him that well. So I'm like, "I'll give you my email." So I gave him my email, and then that was kind of it. And now, so now here we are. I'm searching through my email, looking for his contact. Like, what was this guy? What was his name? I know he emailed me, and I found it, and I was like, so I on the email, he responded back with his number.
Great. I'm intrigued where this
Okay.
place is that you filmed.
Oh yeah. Okay. So he tells me, yeah, we have this place and whatever else. And so he picks me up from the airport. I book a flight. He picks me up from the airport and he takes me to Ogden, and it's Fort Buenaventura.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Fort Buenaventura is this. It's a place where at one point back in 1847, Brigham Young was there and walked the land and named it and everything. So it's historical. And this group they've been keeping it up and haven't changed cabins, haven't changed things, and nobody knows about this place. And I'm like, so he's walking me through, and I'm seeing everything I need. I'm like, ah, that's cabin, that's Green Flake's place. Oh, it was everything. It was everything I needed right there. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, so how can we make this? I need to shoot here. He's like, well, you got to talk to Thor. I'm like, Thor. He's like, yeah, he's the leader of the Mountain Men. He's like, well, he's not actually Thor. I'm like, well, yeah. He's like, what? You'll know when you meet him. I'm like, okay. So he gives me Thor's number, and I call Thor, and Thor is like men amongst the men. He is Thor. He is the living Thor. Axe wielding. Throwing an axe 30 yards away into a tree. That is him. And so I'm talking to Thor, and he's like, "So, what are you trying to do?" And then I was like, "Well, I'm trying to make a movie." And he's like, "Okay, what's the movie about?" I'm like, "Well, it's about a pioneer, a slave, who came across the advanced group with the pioneers, and he was sent when he was a teenager. He was only, gosh, 18, 19 while trekking, but drove the first wagon into the territory." And he's like, "I like it. Let's do it. We just got to get some live deer here so you can skin. We can kill the deer here. We can skin it. We can probably skin it and hang it here. I can probably get some beaver out of this lake. And then I have a friend, John, who can," he's like going on about all these things he's going to do. I'm like, whoa, okay, well, just, okay, I don't know if we're going to kill any live animals on camera, but I do want to shoot here. And he's like, okay, well, you have to talk to the county. And so he connects me with Weber County, and I talked to Weber County and told them what I'm trying to do, make a movie, shoot a movie here, and they like weren't really interested in me doing it. This is the end of November, and I'm looking to shoot from December 10th through December 20th. And they're like, "Well, we are open those days. We just finish up, and it's going to be closing down for the winter. What's your budget again?" And I'm like, "Oh, well, what do you charge?" And then he was like, "Well, we just had Google here, and they rented over the weekend. They were like 5,000 a day, and then we had another thing. They were 1,000 a day." And I'm like, oh, "Okay, yeah, we are worlds apart. We're worlds apart." And he's like, "Well, I mean, why? It's a movie, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, but it's just me. It's not like a thing. It's just me." And then he's like, like a boutique film. I'm like, yeah, boutique film. And he's like, okay, well, we'll work it out. We'll talk numbers later, but let's lock you in. I'll put you down for the dates. And I had the location. So now we're coming up to December and we're under 3 weeks away. I have a location. Okay, I have the actors, I have location. I cannot shoot this thing on my phone because I think that would be bad. That would be bad. We can do better than that. And so I called a couple people that I had met just through doing Bonner family music videos, right? In Utah. And I called Jesse and I was like, hey, Jesse, you want to meet with me for a second? He's like, yeah, sure. He came, we met, and I told him the situation. Mind you, I called a few different people. Yeah, a few different producers, and I'm in LA, so I do know some people. So I'm like, hey, I'm making this movie, and it was just laughs. Probably if you probably laughed as much as they have to yourself over this process. They're like, oh, you don't understand, and they just laugh and say, you don't even think about shooting for another year. Maybe two is more realistic because you need this, and that, all the things that one would need to be prepared. And I would just tell them, I do not have years. I'm not asking you what's capable or possible. I'm telling you what's happening, and I'm asking if you want to be a part of it. So I'm making a movie in 3 weeks. Do you want to be a producer in on it? Do you want to get the crew? Because it's going to happen. And they would laugh and say, honestly, if it was possible, I would do it, but you just don't realize it's not possible. Okay, great, thank you. So that was kind of my conversations with most people. And some friends, some referrals. So then I got to Jesse and I told him the situation. I said, look, Jesse, I can't explain to you enough that I'm making the movie in December. It's going to be made. It's going to be great. I would love for you to be producer on it. I would love for you to pull all the pieces together. You have weeks, but it's during Christmas. Nobody's going to be shooting there in this little holiday time. Can you make it happen? He's like, oh, what's the budget? And I was like, because I have yet to get the funds. I said, well, tell me what you need. And he gives me a dollar amount, and I'm like, okay, cool. Let's cut that in half and make it happen. And then he's like, oh, okay, let's do it. And so I get him on board, and he calls Sarab, first time cinematographer, because he has all the equipment. He rents equipment, and he's a great first AD, so he's able to pull the pieces together. So between the two of them, they pull that crew together, and I go to hustling to raise money, talking to people, letting them know what I'm doing. Same story. I'm making this film. What happens past when I shoot, I don't know. I can't even see that far. But in the next month, we're gonna have a film, and then we can go from there. This is the story. So whether you're in because you believe in it and want the story to be told, or whatever your reason is, I need these dollars. And so I had a sibling who stepped up and said, "You got it. You always do things that end up good." And I was like, "Oh boy, I did not want family's money." I was like, "Oh no," but I needed it. So I was like, "Okay, Yo-Yo, this is my baby sister." I'm like, "Okay." Yo-Yo gave me a big chunk of change, and I had another friend who had me sit down and meet with him, Ephraim, and he was like, "Okay, well, what exactly do you need?" He's like, "Okay, well, I'm investing in you." He's like, and plus, sounds like a great story, but I know that you always do great things because I'm in music. And like I was saying, like the names I was telling you, that's a very professional level. So they're thinking I'm that same guy, which I am not, because how I do music is not how I did this film. How I do music is I know exactly how the show should be from top to bottom, beginning to end of the tour. I know exactly all the steps to get there, and we have to these steps to make it the right show. And so I knew that they were depending on me to be that same person. And unfortunately, I did not take the same path. But fortunately, I am the same guy that's going to get it done. And so I got the money. days before we're about to shoot. And so we get to December, we get on set, and we begin shooting. And um, you know, it was an incredible experience because it was probably 14 members of my family in them. You know, it was probably 10 different recording artists in it, whether they're actors or extras. It's just so many people came together to be a part of it. And I think it was twofold. There are reasons why they did it. I think um, one is the story of Green Flake and that it hasn't been told, this type of history, church history, and they wanted to be a part of telling that. And the other is they believed I was going to do it. And that's the biggest thing that I've realized throughout this process is if somebody believes it's going to happen, then they'll get in line and be a part of it. It's whether or not they believe you're going to do what you say you're going to do. And so, what is that? What is that Indiana Jones movie where it's like he's at the edge and it's a big drop off and he doesn't know if he takes that step whether the floor is going to be there. It was literally like that every step, but I'm running full speed. And so I just knew I have to keep running. And my belief is God. Like I believe like I had to do this. So I have to run because God's going to do his thing. So if I don't run, somebody else is going to get the job done. This movie's going to be made with or without me is how I always saw it. And I would love to be a part of it. So I have to run and allow God to do his thing. And he did so far. So, because I'm still running. So I'll pause there, but that was up until December 2018. So I started writing in July and we were shooting in December. Is there any questions?
Junior,
Yes.
Junior, this is terrific. What we're hearing here, this is exactly the kind of thing we champion and think is this is terrific filmmaking because you are making it happen and you have a vision. These are great things, not to be taken for granted by anybody. And this is exactly what we want to understand and to support. I would love to see the film. You've got it finished, or what stage are you at?
Yeah. So we just finished. We're in film festivals right now. So I'm still like, tweaking it and tweaking it and tweaking it. Um, but yeah, because after we started shooting, after we shot the winter shots, basically was what it was in December, which was a great majority of the film. It wasn't done because according to my script, I had so much more to finish in the spring to show young Green when he was inherited. And I don't know if some of you know the story of Green Flake, but so at 11 he was inherited to James Flake, and he was with him for 6-7 years before he was sent to Nauvoo, and then at 17 in the advanced group to go across the Pioneer Trek. And so we cover so much of his life. And so now I know we shot that stuff in December, and I was now thinking, I was a little bit worried because I had to gear up to do it all over again because I had to get that second half spring done. And February rolled around. Well, let me back up a little bit because I just want to let you know. So even though it was my first time writing and directing, first time all that, it's not because I wrote some amazing script. I am some great director. I had friends that I knew were great, and I would say, "This is what I got. Can you help me? This is what I have. Can you help me? This is as good as I can take it. How can you help me?" And as much as I thought this is a great script, it was terrible in the beginning, and I didn't know that until all the help I got to get it where it got. So, and literally the day before we started, the day before we said action, I was YouTubing. When do you say cut and when do you say action? When I didn't know any of that. My editor was trying to, kind of get me on the lingo or something and cut and roll. And I'm like, can they just say go and stop and go? It's like, yeah, but they need, it's just, then they may not respect you as your, I'm like, oh man, I don't know. So I get on set and I'm having my first idea. Can you call everything? And I'll just give you like a hand. You can kind of just catch on to my hand. It's like, yeah, whatever you need. I'm like, great. My first AD was everything. Matt was everything. Yeah. So just so you know, it's because of people around me that allowed me to get what I needed. You know, so February came. Now we're in 2019, just a few months after December, a couple months after December, and I'm like, I gotta raise this money. I can't go back to my investors because one, the number I said that it's going to cost is not the number. Is not the number. It's going to cost more than that, and I did not want to go back and be like, so about that, that's some more. I just couldn't do it, and so I decided to do a Kickstarter, and so I made a Kickstarter video and put pieces together of some of the film that we had, and I'll play it for you right now, the Kickstarter video.
You see my Jesus rising morning. Oh, he's ever saying rising
Made a Kickstarter video, just letting everybody know what it was, what the let me get at this real quick, letting everybody know what the film is, and begin. We ran the Kickstarter, and it was slow at first, but I cannot tell you. I just believed that we were gonna make it. We were gonna make it, and we were trying to raise 65,000, and uh, it we were at like 20 something thousand with like a week left, and then some big supporters came in and were like, okay, what do we got to do to push this thing over? I'm like, you got 50K, and so they chipped in, and they talked to some other people, they chipped in, they talked to some other people, they chipped in, and we made it to our mark just the day before.
Wow.
And so now here we are at the end of March, and we have the money, and so now I'm like, okay, let's go back and shoot in May. And so I let everybody know May is going to be the pickup shot. The shooting all the spring stuff, and so got the crew together, some different people, because we were only about 6 weeks out from finishing the Kickstarter and shooting again, and we shot all the pickup shots and got everything we needed, and so now we were done in May. So May 2019, we finished shooting the film, and that's when I was like, and my wife was like, now you need to go to work. You need to go get a job. See if you can get your clients back. I'd like my husband back. They like their father back. So I had to push pause, go make some money, make sure people in music knew I'm still alive, and be a husband, because I was a zombie. I just can't believe the amount of work it takes to make a film. Had somebody told me, I never would have done it. Not a chance. Not a chance. Oh, there we go. So you can see me now, right? Okay, um, so yeah, I then spent the next like 10 months, you know, trying to make sure that my wife doesn't leave me, that my kids know I love them, that, to make money, to pay bills, so 10 months literally was, I had the film and just it's sitting on a hard drive, and Um, so then, yeah, about 10 months later, it's like March of 2020. Uh, and I'm like, okay, let's get this thing done. I had a friend. I have a friend who referred me to a friend because, like I said, I'm in LA, so I do know people, and so, one of my friends is a big director, like big time, big box office films, and he pointed me to somebody who's like, hey, this editor is really good, and editor got my film and realized how out of sorts everything was because we shot the whole film in like 11 and a half days, 12 days, like, and so uh, he took some time to just organize everything. And by the time he was done, he was like, listen, I got another job I got to do. And I'm like, hey, do what you got to do. Thank you for that. And so he just kind of organized it for the next editor. And so the next editor is a friend of mine who's also just really gifted with editing, just kind of knows, just kind of knows how it should be. And so we spent some time together, Tech and I, for the next 3 months, 3.5 months editing. And, so, and this is so surreal because I'm going from editing with him and then having to hurry home because now it's curfew because the protests turned into riots. And so I'm doing this film that means so much to me about this time period while this is happening in the world. So it was very interesting times. So doing all that throughout the summer, this summer that we just had, and then we finally finish in July. And it's been cart before the horse this whole time. I when you're working for me, when I'm working so hard doing so many things, like I feel more like a producer than a writer or a director. I feel like a producer. I feel like that has been the biggest job for me is pulling the pieces together or something. Like everything else, the directing part, easy. Write it, easy. But putting the pieces together and corralling people, like, no, 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 don't leave, hold on. He's here. Come on, mom. Oh, wait. Come on. Hurrying everybody to stick around. Okay. So we can go at the same time. That was the hard part. So now we're done, and I'm like, it's time for festivals, and it's just me, right now. I do have some people on board, but everybody's new, and um, I just looked up online festivals to apply to, and I'm submitting the film to a whole bunch of festivals in July. And so, in doing that, I submitted to just a bunch, and so far we've won 20 different awards. And every film festival that we've gotten in, we've won. And that's like 9 different festivals. Some we're getting that, thank you, it's the hardest part. We didn't get accepted in, I'm like, but the ones that do get in, we've won every single one. And so so again, like I feel like it's, for me, this project is bigger than me because it is definitely not because of my directing. And they write a nice review and Mauli's something. Nope, no. Mauli's nothing. Mauli was there watching, making sure people felt good. I wanted people to feel good about their contribution to the film while everybody was doing their job. And then half of the film we got back was unusable for different reasons because we were thrown together. This audio, this camera, this, so it got pieced together, and right now it's in a really great place. What's next? I don't know. Couldn't tell you. Right now I'm looking for distribution, thinking about like what the next step is, whether it's going through theaters or do I go theaters now so we can say we were the number one selling and for 3 weeks, but really that's, you sold 300 tickets in 3 cities, So it sounds good to try to get to a streaming platform, or do we just say forget that altogether and just stream and be like, hey, we're winning, you want some of this? It's all I'm figuring it out right now as I go. Reading as much as I can read, listening to as much as I can listen to. Listening to your guys' conversation was super helpful this last little bit. So I am my filmmaker. No, I just I'm I'm making movies, but I am not a filmmaker. I I feel like I don't know what I'm doing, but somehow a movie is being done. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
That's great. That is great. Thank you for sharing that. I have a question, and some of the other people may have questions as well. Um,
Yeah.
so, so I'm aware of the Green Flake story, and there were two others African Americans who were with them as well on that first trek there. Um, Obviously, this would be of interest to LDS audiences, but I would hope that it would be a lot broader audience than that. So, what are your target audiences? Your sense of that?
That's exactly it. Like, I'm trying to. My favorite movies are period piece movies that have to do with religion. Those are my favorite movies. I just love them. Any religion, any period. And so I just hated the fact that when it comes to history, Mormon history, it's like, oh, well, that's for them. And I hate that because there's some
Yeah.
great stories there. And so I just want so badly for Mormon history to be a part of American history. And the second part to that is I want so badly for Black history to be Mormon history. So I'm trying to do that all at once. And what I found is, um, like if you look at the films we're beating, I'm like, these are regular films. So they're seeing the story. They know the church history. They know it's a historical piece. It's Mormons, but it's accepted. And so, um, so far within the festival circuit, it's doing what I'm hoping, which is branching out to where these type of stories can be looked at as American history with religion. Yeah.
That's good. That is good. You have already contacted some distributors, is that right?
I've contacted one. I don't. I don't know. I don't know distributors. I
Have you
contacted one.
seen have you seen the video that Robert Starling had sent around of Tracy Hainsworth talking about distribution?
Not distribution. I've only seen the one green lighting.
Yeah, actually, the one on distribution, I'm in the process of editing now. I've got the first few frames of her PowerPoint edited in. The rest of it's all ready to go, but I'm putting editing into PowerPoint now. Hopefully, within another day or two, I'll be able to send that out to everybody. And I've already talked to Junior about how important it is that he watch that.
Okay. What is the running length of your film, by the way?
An hour and 42.
Okay. And 2 weeks from today, we will have Tracy talking about foreign distribution specifically. Um, we ought to get a camera at the Doug at your place there, and if you want to join in hearing that live and ask her questions and such, that might be helpful too. Because we'd love to have you get great distribution. So
Thank you. Man, I'd love that.
So
I have a few other questions. Are there others with questions? Go ahead.
well, I'm just, I most of you know that I'm taking Tracy's class, and I need a project to turn in. Anyway, it's amazing stuff. I don't know everything yet. We still have the actual green lighting process. We're in the company development this semester, and then the actual spreadsheets with the green lighting next semester. So I'm not quite sure on that, but it's not like I have to go with the class. It's amazing, amazing stuff. If you can just, she might even be able to, I don't know. Anyway, I'm trying to think through all the pieces, but I can see where the knowledge I have gained would be tremendously helpful. But I am a newbie. I just do story analysis. That's all I am. but I can see the value of being able to go through the green light process and understanding the whole film industry, which I am finding absolutely fascinating. Yeah, I don't know. You probably don't have time for the book lists, but you just get somebody that's going to do it.
No, I think that's awesome. I'll definitely reach out and see what I can get from her or listen to or join because I need all the education I can in this area for sure.
Okay, good. I have a couple other questions. Um, uh, you had an original score for the film, is that right?
Yes.
And you produced it. I assume it'd be a great score. Um,
Well, so I wrote songs and then I worked with three different composers, mainly Jonathan Keith, and he did a lot of the composing for our family music. Him and I, we did the music for Jane and Emma. It was a film that Deseret put out. We did the scoring for Jane and Emma together, and so Jonathan really it was the main composer on that, and then my brother-in-law Norbert Farkas, and then another young guy out here in LA, Coleman Ellis. And so what I was trying to do, and I feel like we accomplished, is be able to fuse this period into today's times. And so I wanted it to be a little eclectic, but without it being disruptive. And so I'm hoping that it's a film that doesn't just make young people be like, this is for old folks, And so I try to musically get their attention to where they can feel connected to it. So a lot of songs and scoring.
that is good. And that actually brings up another question that I had already thought about asking you. And that is, you mentioned you like period films, and I think there's a lot of merit to that. But
Uh-oh, you're frozen.
to connect with the minds and hearts of the audience. And, oh, okay. I'm feeling warm right now, though. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I do see you, and all right, okay. So here's the question. Okay, here's the question for you. Any film needs to connect with the audiences, and there are many different kinds of audiences, primary, secondary, and so on. But to connect with the audiences, and that would mean that even in a period film, there needs to be things where there are points of reference for what it means to me. And so in scene as well as in the music, the scoring, I would assume in scripts has a number of things that you would be able to point to and say, here are things that are relevant to audiences. I assume that's the case, and maybe you could even just give us an overview of some of the thinking that you had in.
Yes.
I'm frozen again.
Yeah, it was a little bit choppy, but I think I got what you're saying. So in writing this script, I just felt more so during the editing, so many parallels between what people are feeling and going through, and not just the Black experience, but just the temperature, the tension,
Mhm.
And so, what I didn't want to do is fuel the fire. Um, but what I do want to do is acknowledge the flame. And so I try to make sure that we are able to recognize some comparisons in that time. And then we can kind of look and see, well, where do I stand in this?
Mhm.
So where would I fit there? Where am I now? How, so I'm hoping that it does take people on a bit of a self-reflection journey as it did
Very
me.
good.
Yeah.
That is terrific then. The self-reflection journey. That's very good.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I see Devin there.
How do we get when can we get to see this film?
I'm guessing probably in a few weeks, like a private secret, but that's what I'm thinking. But yeah, nobody. First people that saw it besides me and my editor were the festivals. You know,
Maybe we could have a special Visionary screening for it.
I would love to get your guys' feedback and thoughts and all of that.
We
I
would
think
love to
that
see
it,
your film.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I just raised my hand to just say if what I've seen is such good quality, and I know the quality of the music. So I would just say let's get the right people connected to the right people. Does that make sense? So Tracy would be a great resource. Amy, your offer seems like a really good one as well. Just exchange emails, phone numbers, and Robert, you guys know your business. So whoever the right people are, let's make this happen because it's very exciting. The product is there. Let's just connect the right people. Just like you were saying earlier, half of it is just getting the right people in the right room and saying, "Yeah, you're the right person. You're the right person. Let's get this. Let's make this happen."
And you know, like Tracy says, you've got to find comparables, and you get the right people watching the film that say, "Oh, that film reminds me of this one over here," you know, and then you can start making those comparisons with the trailers and make the case that this is comparable and it's going to have this kind of return on investment, and then you go to the distributors with all that. That's the idea. So
yeah, that's a major key for getting distribution is having a green light.
We also have another festival coming up that we would like to have this submitted for so that we could include it in our festival as well.
What is that?
And it's a Great Cinema Now Film Festival. Dennis Packard and I work on that together. And then I will also be doing a Life, the Universe, and Everything Film Festival in February that we could include it in if he wants to. There's two festivals that would be nice to include.
It definitely was awesome experience for to try my faith for sure.
I think
I have another question for you.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, I think that with your real strong interest in historical, religiously grounded films, you're going to find these. And by the way, I've worked with a fellow that runs a Christian distributor. It's all online kind of stuff, but he's done a number of films out of here. They just need to be Christian, and then he gets them out. And sometimes people have had to shoot double kinds of things and include a minister and a bishop, in order to do it. But maybe this kind of a film would be a crossover. Their name is Bridgestone Media, and they distribute in all the Christian bookstores, across the country, and they're eager for LDS stuff, but it has to have that appeal. And it sounds like that's where your heart is, that it doesn't matter to you what religious faith it is. You're interested in those historical pieces with religious kind of a background. I think that's that maybe could be a key to finding comparables, but then also to approaching some groups like that. And it could be that you could get it out to foreign distributors and U.S. distributors and so on, and have that as a backdrop that this is in place. They are strongly interested in it because the distributors want to know that there's a number of places that this thing is going to go.
Right.
Good. I will certainly put you in touch with Tracy Hainsworth and get you the recording of 2 weeks ago as well, and then bring you on. We'll certainly put you in touch there. Are there, what I'd love to hear is just an overview of the background you have in the music industry and what it is you're doing before you launched into this, into Green Flake Film.
Yeah. So, initially it was, hold on one second. Robert,
Yes.
Darling,
Yes, go ahead.
can you mute? Sorry.
Okay.
Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
clear.
Okay. Okay. Um, I was saying, music. Yeah. Um, initially, it started out as me teaching kids third grade how to clap at the same time, sing at the same time together. It was my nightmare, to be honest. I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And then there was this school that developed kids into singers, and I went and applied and taught there, and then that was a lot better because I was able to feel like I could use what I was capable of more. And then there was these reality shows that started coming: American Idol, The Voice, and others. And they heard about my teaching, asked me to come audition to teach, and so I began working on these reality shows and developing the contestants and making sure that they can not lose their voice and not lose their mind during that stretch of time. And so, what I found was I was being utilized more to take care of people than voices. So it was a matter of making people feel like they are where they should be and that they're going to be okay. And then a little bit of voice coaching on the way. Um, and so I did a lot of that. And then that led into pop artists, because a lot of the labels were connected with these singing competition shows. And so then you had artists that are trying to make a comeback that needed some rebooting, like Fergie, and so I spent a lot of time working with her to revamp her. And then the pop artists I was, mentioning, the Kesha, Camila Cabello, stuff like that. So I just began working with them either in the recording studio, meaning I'm the one saying, do it again. Or if they have a live show, I'm preparing them for that to determine how much they should sing, dance, what the order of the set should be. And and then working with new artists, meaning like labels would come to me and say, okay, I found this talented YouTuber. Are they good enough? Can they make it? And so then I would have to determine whether or not they are good enough and who would like them. And so um, coupling that with songwriting, it really was a smooth transition when it came to film. I found that, oh, I've been directing people my whole career, for the last 15, 20 years. So I'm like, oh, okay. So it's just now acting and telling the story and getting them to tell it the right way, and getting people on board, and knowing who's believable and who's not believable. That's exactly what it is with songs. I mean, with artists. And then songwriting, it's just an extended, for me, I was writing a long song. It was what was writing this film. And so uh, I turn on some music and I felt like I was able to just, pour it out.
Good. Very good. You've touched on some great things regarding directing, because and I'm delighted to hear that. So that tells me about you. So from music producing and writing. You have other projects in mind, other plans this coming year?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'm a cart before the horse. Like when you say Tracy, I'm like, I don't want to meet her. Not in person. She's gonna bend me over her knee and just spank me because I am like the antithesis of what needs to be done, And so I'm like, uh, I need to talk to you, but don't look at me, because um, I have since shot another movie, written two more scripts, and filmed a documentary. So that's what I've so someone's like, I think you caught the bug. And I'm like, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
terrific.
So I've found that I'm making up for lost time or something because it's been super go, go, go. And for me personally, I feel like I'm at my best. I do my best work when I'm helping someone, when I'm doing it for someone else. And Green Flake is not about me at all. Zero. And I know that once it does become about me, that's when it's gonna fall. Because for me, I just feel like Green Flake, main thing, Green Flake, Brigham Young, they need it. I personally believe that there was a unique connection between them, an odd connection. You have Brigham Young, who's torn with himself, in my opinion, in this world where he's conflicted, because I believe he loved Green Flake, but he's also a man that believes that black people are this, white people are that. And, so I feel like he was playing both sides of himself, freeing, orchestrating the freedom of Green Flake right before Utah became a slave state. And he was a catalyst in that. But then he freed Green's wife, Green's wife's mother. Like, he made sure they were taken care of first before that happened. Why? So that there's a conflict there, and I feel like there's a part of that relationship that needs to be seen, and I don't think people will like it on either side. I think black people are not going to be happy. I think white people are not going to be happy, but it's what I believe happened based on the history that I found. And I felt like I have to tell this story for black people, for white people, for church members, for non-church members, for Green, and for Brigham Young. So it's like I'm trying to hit for everybody right now, and all it's gonna do is make everybody mad, but it is what it is.
Very interesting then.
Yeah.
Now you live in Los Angeles. You've lived there for quite a while then, right? In the
I
music
have.
industry.
Yeah, 20 years.
Oh.
I'm 38 now, so since I was 18, I came out right when I graduated. I had a scholarship to go, or not a scholarship. I was offered a scholarship to come look at the campus and whatever else. And during that time, you could do anything with a plane ticket. So I was like, I got to the thing, and I didn't like football. I just played it because the girls watched it and my friends played it. And I was like, can I change this? They're like, yeah, you can, whatever it's worth. I'm like, okay, I'll go to LA. So I changed my thing to a one-way to LA, and that was that.
How can we help you? I mean, Tracy knows distribution and all that, but how can we, our group, our people, help you?
I don't know what I don't know, and so I that's the biggest problem I have. I'm gonna get it done, but my tools are limited. So I'm using wrong tools for the wrong build, and so I'm sure there's things that you may know that you should be thinking about these things next, and you would assume that I would, but I'm not. Let me tell you now, I'm not, because I don't know. I'm still the same guy that never thought about making a movie ever. So there are next steps that I should be taking that I'm not taking. So if there's any insight as to things I should be thinking about and considering and being aware of, I would love that, because I don't have that. There isn't anyone I'm talking to.
Well, Junior, if you're open to it, I think you could probably expect some phone calls in the next few days and weeks. The thing that I would like you to know is that you have a supportive community here.
I appreciate it.
You have people who are rooting for your success and willing to help in any way we can.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So
Anything
the
else?
purpose of our just real quick. Yeah. The purpose of our group is to be of support. Yeah. Somebody else had a question?
Yeah, I was going to ask or state, let's not forget the important quality. We're seeing a fine example here of someone who will ask questions and ask people for help. The challenge many of us have is in not knowing. We don't want to display our ignorance. Instead, we see a man with a mission who will go out and ask for help.
You know what I think goes with that? I think it was a combination of asking. I mean, because that was my fear, is having to ask, because I grew up in, where we always needed as children, and I was like, I'm done with that. I'm grown. I got to make my own money. I don't want to ask anybody for anything. And I have a career and people think I know what I'm doing, so
Yeah.
that was a hard one to do. But I think what seemed to make the difference was not just me asking, but them knowing that I'm going to do it regardless.
Yeah.
So they see the wall I'm about to run into and I don't, and I'm running. So if I ask, it's almost like they have to, like, okay, just come here, because you're gonna, so if
You're gonna face
coupled with action.
What I love about this is your story. I mean, I love the movie itself. I'm going to love the movie, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. But I am just as interested in. I would love to see the making of this movie. Basically, what you've told us, but behind the scenes kind of thing, because it's brilliant and it's inspirational.
Thank you so much.
Very good. Very good. We
So-
do want to see the film.
Yes, yes. And one of the things that, you mentioned you've got some other scripts that you've been working on and stuff. I mean, that's where I'm best at, is coming in before the finished product when things can still be changed. When I watch, so, I'm more than willing to look at those. I've told everyone that it's 50 years worth of research that's behind me. Analysis all the way from Aristotle up through cognitive development and moral reasoning and power structures and just how to actually connect with your audience. So I can help with the ones that are in process. And then just when I watch Green Flake, what I'll be doing is I will be looking at who your target audience is, because you've got a wide range. And it's one thing, I'm a writer as well. So I know how hard it is. I mean, I'll never analyze my own work because I can't see it. I know what it's supposed to be, but I don't know if it's on the page. And so I can help identify what that target is, who you're going to connect with the most, so that when we're talking to distributors and when we do the green light process, we'll go beat by beat and pull out those comparables with other films so that we can get with the right distributor. I mean, I'm not an expert. I'm just going off of what I've been learning. So, but it's so powerful. I was telling everybody at the very beginning, I think we've got this golden ticket with between Dennis with his how to build the screenplays, the analysis that I do, and then and the green light process with Tracy, and then having these directors and people with all the equipment that have actually know this industry. I think we need to do great things. I really do. And I need to prove it to the world.
I love
And I
that.
can't wait.
Good.
So
Good.
Robert Starling,
so you're
let's
aware.
make sure we have his
Well-
contact information.
Well, we have our right? They're on the email.
Is that on the email, that list?
I should be in that
But
group.
I'll make sure. I'll send out an email to everyone with the contact information, whatever you want us to know.
Great.
I think Junior's
reach out to
email
you.
was in the header of the one that I sent out.
Good.
Okay.
We'll look for that. Now, one last thing here, unless anybody else has any other questions, which we certainly welcome, but one last thing, Junior, we
Yes.
are all about making great films. Is what we want. And the reason we got together, the reason why our group came together is because we've seen a lot of lousy films out there that don't reach audiences, that are lame, that are not meaningful, or that are shallow, and that don't get distribution. They investors, and nothing comes of it. It also harms all the rest of us, because then the potential investor funds are dried up. People have been burned and they don't want to put more funds in. And yet we have great stories to tell. And there are great stories out there to tell. And there are some talent here. Not everybody and not in every element and every dimension. But so our group here, we are trying to help each other and bring in the answers to questions and the solutions to needs, solutions to problems there. But we're also teaching each other. and welcoming from other sources. And by teaching, I mean especially the realm of trying to and pursuing improvement of what we're doing. But the bottom line is we're trying to improve the quality of what we're doing and help each other out. So writers' perspectives, directors' perspectives. We've had several presentations on that. What a director is looking for in scripts and why and what it means. And then producer perspective on these things. So, hey, we'd welcome your involvement, however much you'd like. And we can, I think, work out some more smoother ways of doing things on a Skype or Zoom or whatever. And we'd welcome your involvement, your input. You are welcome to join us, is what I'm saying.
Thank you so much.
I will put out contact information. Does anyone else have any questions right now? 2 weeks, we'll be hearing from Tracy again and on foreign distribution specifically. And so thank you very much, Junior, for being with us. We really appreciate this.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys. It's great.
We champion you. We're cheering you on. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And thanks to everybody for joining in, and tell your friends. And whether we proceed in the future more in person or more virtual, I guess we'll have to see how that works out. But thanks everybody for being a part of it, and hope to see you all again soon.
Thanks,
Okay,
Robert.
bye. Bye.
Great.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.